Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the second session on microbiology. So let us start with the today's session. Let us look into the contents. The contents we will be dealing today are where do microbes live and the classification of microorganisms. So where do microorganisms live? Microorganisms live everywhere. In the current picture, you can see there are two scientists who are collecting samples of the river water and they are trying to estimate the microbial load that is present in the water sample. But in the surrounding, you can see there are so many beautiful microorganisms that are surrounding them, which is very true that microorganisms are present everywhere in the surrounding. Probably there is no place on the earth where microorganisms do not exist. So, microorganisms are present everywhere. They are present in the soil that we walk upon, the rivers, plants, animals, tap water that we drink, on your keyboard, on your pillow, and in your body. Yes, microorganisms are present in our body, on the grounds that we walk upon, or say the air that we breathe. The human body is inhabited by millions of tiny living organisms, which all together are called as human microbiota. So, are these important? Yes, human microbiota are very important because they are found just about anywhere in your whole body. Maybe on your skin, in the nose, in the mouth, especially in the gut. We acquire these bacteria during our growth and the first few years of our life. And they live within us throughout our life, even after our death, because they're responsible for the decaying of our body as well. Microbiota, they may change during our growth depending upon the food that we eat, the environment in which we live, or the peoples and the animals that we interact with, or the medicines that we take. Maybe antibiotics. The human microbiota helps us to keep us healthy. But sometimes these bacteria can also be harmful, so we need to take a good care of our microbiota to avoid the development of some diseases such as obesity and asthma. We should eat healthy foods that contribute to the development of healthy microbiota. Now that we all know microorganisms are surrounding us, they are present everywhere around us, it would be an obvious question to ask, are they not harmful to us? Probably not, because there are very few classes of microorganisms which are harmful to humankind, but most of the microorganisms are very helpful to human beings. Now let us look into the classification of microorganisms. Microorganisms are classified as aerobes, anaerobes, facultative anaerobes, microaerophiles depending upon their oxygen requirements. Aerobes are the kind of microorganisms which need oxygen for their growth and their survival, whereas anaerobes are the ones which do not need oxygen for their growth or their survival. So it is very easy to remember. Aerobes are the one which need oxygen for their survival, whereas anaerobes are the one which do not need oxygen for their survival. So what are facultative anaerobes? Facultative anaerobes are the ones which will survive in either of the conditions. It does not matter whether there is oxygen present or it is not. They can survive in both the conditions. If there is oxygen, they'll use it. If there is no oxygen, then also they're fine. I think this is a good class of microorganisms. Coming to microaerophiles are the kind of microorganisms that need oxygen, but they require the oxygen in very low levels. That is usually between 2 to 10%. So what happens if the oxygen levels go beyond 10%? Then it becomes very harmful. The oxygen would become very harmful to it. So in this slide, we will see a small experimentation to find out the oxygen requirement of a microorganism. Say for example, we have 4 test tubes which are labeled as 1, 2, 3 and 4. I have inoculated an unknown microorganism into all the 4 test tubes and we have incubated them for a period of time. May it be 24 hours or 48 or maybe 72. So after incubation, we have seen that the growth in the test tube number 1, we found that the microbial load is very high at the topmost layer of the test tube. That means the microorganism that is present in the first tube is a obligate aerobe because the oxygen concentration is always high at the top of the test tube while it goes on decreasing at the bottom of the test tube. So obligate aerobes are the ones which need oxygen for their survival. That is why these microorganisms in the test tube number 1 have come up to the topmost layer. Whereas the microorganism in the test tube number 2 have settled at the bottom of the test tube. Now it is clear that the oxygen requirement for these kind of microorganisms would be very less. That is why they have settled at the bottom of the test tube. So these are nothing but obligate anaerobes. Anaerobes are the one which do not need oxygen for their survival. Whereas in the test tube number 3, we can see the microorganisms are almost evenly distributed, but still a higher concentration of them is present on the top layer of the test tube. These are said to be facultative anaerobes. They can survive whether the oxygen is present or it is not. But when the oxygen is present, they are ready to utilize it. That is why they have gone at the topmost layer of the test tube. Finally, in the test tube number 4, we can see these kind of microorganisms are called microaerophiles because they need very less quantity of oxygen. The oxygen concentration at the topmost layer of the test tube is very high compared to the next second layer of the test tube. That is why they have been concentrated at the second layer of the test tube. That is how we can estimate what kind of microorganisms have been grown in the test tube and what are their oxygen requirement. With this, we come to the end of the session. As always, I have a note. All the images used in the presentation are sourced from the internet. I would like to dedicate all the credits for the pictures to whomever it originally belonged to. Thank you so much for watching.